The Celestial Echo. Commander Elliot Hayes stood at the viewport of the ESV horizon, watching the cosmos spread before him like an infinite canvas. Stars speckled the darkness, each one a potential harbor for discovery. The horizon was humanity's most advanced deep space exploratory vessel, built to venture where no human had gone before. "Commander, you should see this." The voice of Dr. Maya Villanova, the ship's chief scientist, broke through his contemplation. Hayes turned from the viewport and made his way to the horizon's command center, where the crew monitored a host of sensors scanning the surrounding space. Maya's slender fingers danced across the console as she brought up the anomalous readings. "It started about 20 minutes ago," she said, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "A signal, faint at first, but growing stronger. It's not matching any known patterns in our database." Hayes leaned closer, studying the waveform that pulsed across the screen. "Natural phenomenon." "Unlikely," replied Maya, shaking her head. "There's a pattern to it, almost like a beacon." Lieutenant Commander Jackson Chen, the ship's tactical officer, joined them at the console. His normally stoic expression was marred with concern. "Sir, the signal is coming from the Nixian Void." The Nixian Void. Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. The region was notorious among spacefarers, a sector of space riddled with gravitational distortions, radiation storms, and other hazards that had claimed countless ships. No expedition had ever fully mapped it, and those who ventured too deep rarely returned. "Plot a course," Hayes said after a moment's deliberation, "but keep us at the edge of the void. We'll assess the situation before making any decisions about going deeper." "Aye, Commander," Chen responded, though Hayes could see the unease in his eyes. As the horizon altered its trajectory, Hayes gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. The holographic display at the center of the table showed the Nixian Void, a chaotic swirl of cosmic dust and energy that seemed to devour the light around it. "Whatever's generating this signal has power," explained Maya, manipulating the hologram to zoom in on the heart of the void. "And based on these readings, it's been active for a very long time." "Define very long time," Hayes prompted. Maya hesitated. "Preliminary analysis suggests the power source is at least 50,000 years old." A hushed silence fell over the room. Humanity had only achieved interstellar travel a century ago. The thought of encountering technology from a civilization that predated their space age by millennia was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Could it be the Arcturians?" asked Chen, referring to one of the oldest known alien species in the galaxy. "The signature doesn't match their technology," Maya replied. "This is something else." Hayes studied the hologram, weighing the risks against the potential discovery. "We proceed with caution. Full defensive systems online. At the first sign of danger, we pull back." The journey to the edge of the Nixian Void took 3 days. As they approached, the ship's systems began to experience interference. Displays flickered, communications became spotty, and the navigational array struggled to maintain accuracy. "It's like the laws of physics are breaking down," muttered Chief Engineer Riza Khalid, his fingers flying over his console as he attempted to stabilize the systems. Hayes watched the void through the main viewport. It resembled a cosmic hurricane, with swirling clouds of dust and gas illuminated by sporadic flashes of energy. The signal they were tracking emanated from somewhere within its turbulent heart. "Can we pinpoint the source?" Hayes asked. Maya nodded. "It's coming from approximately 500,000 kilometers inside the void. But the conditions in there..." She didn't need to finish. Everyone knew the dangers. "I've recalibrated our shields to withstand the radiation," Khalid offered. "But I can't guarantee they'll hold for long against the gravitational anomalies." Hayes made his decision. "We're going in. Engage impulse engines at 1/4 power. Keep a lock on that signal." The horizon edged forward, entering the swirling maelstrom of the Nixian Void. The ship shuddered as it encountered the first gravitational wave, the hull creaking under the strain. "Shields holding at 87%, reported Chen, his voice tense. They pushed deeper, the vessel's advanced systems fighting against the chaotic forces that buffeted it from all sides. Several times, they were forced to alter course to avoid particularly violent disruptions. "Commander, I'm detecting a large structure ahead," announced the sensor operator, excitement bleeding through her professional demeanor. The view screen adjusted, attempting to penetrate the cosmic dust and radiation. Slowly, an image formed, a massive angular structure floating in the void, dark and silent like a celestial tombstone. "It's artificial," breathed Maya, her eyes wide. "And it's enormous. Initial readings suggest it's at least 10 kilometers in length." Hayes felt his heartbeat quicken. "Any signs of life or active systems?" "Negative, sir. But," Maya paused, rechecking her readings, "there are energy signatures. Dormant, but present." They approached the structure cautiously. As they drew closer, details became clearer. It was a space station of some kind, its architecture unlike anything they had encountered before. Angular and imposing, it seemed to absorb the surrounding light rather than reflect it. "Prepare an away team," ordered Hayes. "Dr. Villanova, you'll lead. Take Engineer Khalid, Lieutenant Chen, and a security detail. I want to know what this thing is and who built it." The team donned their EVA suits, the latest model equipped with enhanced shields against radiation and other hazards. Hayes watched from the bridge as their shuttle departed the horizon, a tiny speck against the massive backdrop of the ancient station. "Command, we're approaching the structure," Maya's voice came through the comms. "There appears to be a docking bay of some kind. We're attempting to enter." Hayes held his breath as he watched the shuttle maneuver toward an opening in the station's hull. It disappeared inside, and for several tense moments, communications were disrupted. "We're inside," Maya finally reported. "The bay has atmosphere and gravity. Readings show it's breathable, but we're keeping our suits on for now." The away team proceeded cautiously through the station, sending back video feeds that displayed cavernous hallways and chambers filled with technology beyond human understanding. The architecture was both beautiful and alien, sleek lines and curves that seemed to flow organically, despite being constructed from metal and other materials. "These markings," Maya said, focusing her camera on symbols etched into a wall, "they're not in any alien language database we have." Hayes studied the symbols. There was something oddly familiar about them, though he couldn't place why. "Can you translate?" "Not yet, but there's something else you should see." Maya guided her camera to a large chamber they had discovered. It was dominated by a central console that glowed with a soft blue light. Around it, dormant terminals and equipment lined the walls. "None of it activated until we entered," she explained. "It's as if the station was waiting for someone." Hayes frowned. "Be careful. Don't touch anything until—" "Commander," Khalid interrupted, his voice filled with awe. "You need to see this." The engineer had discovered a separate chamber adjacent to the main one. Inside was what appeared to be a holographic projection showing a series of star systems, some recognizable, others not. "I think it's a map," Khalid said. "And look at this." He approached a panel near the projection. It was covered in more symbols, but these were different. As his hand hovered over the panel, it suddenly illuminated, the symbols glowing with an inner light. "It's responding to me," Khalid said, his voice hushed. "But why?" Maya moved to another console and cautiously extended her hand. The same phenomenon occurred, the technology responding to her proximity as if recognizing something within her. "Try touching it," Hayes suggested, curiosity overriding caution. Khalid placed his palm flat against the panel. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. The entire chamber burst into light, the holographic map expanding to fill the room. Symbols flashed across the walls, and a low hum reverberated through the station. It's accepting human contact," Maya gasped. "The technology is interfacing directly with our neural patterns." Chen approached another console, This one dark until he came within a meter of it. It's the same here. It's like the station knows we're human. Hayes felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Can you access any data? Find out who built this place. Maya was already working at her console, her expressions shifting between concentration and astonishment. I'm getting fragments. It's encrypted, but the station seems to be helping me decrypt it, almost like it wants us to know. Minutes passed as Maya worked, her fingers occasionally touching the alien interface, which responded as if designed specifically for human interaction. Finally, she stepped back, her face pale. Commander, according to this data, this station was built by a civilization called the Primarchs. They were human, or at least our ancestors. The revelation hit Hayes like a physical blow. Human. That's impossible. Humanity evolved on Earth. Not according to this, Maya said, her voice shaking slightly. The Primarchs were an advanced human civilization that dominated this region of the galaxy over 100,000 years ago. They created this station as a fortress, a defensive outpost against something they called the adversary. Hayes struggled to process this information. The implications were staggering. That humans had once been an interstellar species, that they had fallen and somehow begun anew on Earth, forgetting their cosmic heritage. There's more, Maya continued. The station recognized us genetically. It's programmed to respond only to Primarch DNA, human DNA. That's why it's activating for us. Before Hayes could respond, the ship's alarm blared. Commander, called the officer on the bridge, panic evident in his voice. We've got company. Multiple vessels just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the void. They're heading straight for us. Get the away team back to the ship, Hayes ordered. Now. But it was too late. As the team rushed back toward their shuttle, the station shuddered. Ancient defense systems, dormant for millennia, began to power up. Commander, the station. It's arming itself, Chen reported, watching as weapon systems far more advanced than anything humanity possessed came online. On the view screen, Hayes could see the approaching vessels, sleek, predatory craft that moved with unnatural grace through the void's turbulence. Their design was unmistakable. Caldari, one of the most technologically advanced species in the known galaxy, and not known for their friendly disposition toward humans. They're hailing us, announced the communications officer. Hayes steeled himself. Put them through. The view screen shifted to show a Caldari commander, tall, with iridescent scales covering a humanoid form and eyes that seemed to pierce through the screen. Human vessel. The Caldari spoke, its voice translated by the ship's computer. You have activated what does not belong to you. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Hayes kept his expression neutral. This is Commander Elliot Hayes of the Earth Exploratory Vessel Horizon. We're on a peaceful mission of discovery. The Caldari's expression didn't change. You have awakened the tempest. The consequences will be your burden to bear. The transmission cut off abruptly. Hayes turned to his officers. Get the away team back now, and prepare for possible hostile action. As the shuttle raced back toward the horizon, the ancient station's weapons began to track the Caldari vessels. Whatever the tempest was, it clearly recognized the Caldari as enemies, perhaps the same adversary the Primarchs had built it to defend against. Hayes watched as the away team's shuttle docked with the horizon, relief washing over him as Maya and the others returned safely to the bridge. But there was no time for reunion. The Caldari ships had formed an attack formation. They're powering weapons, Chen reported grimly. Shields to maximum, Hayes ordered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. But before either side could fire, the station acted. A wave of energy pulsed outward from its core, washing over both the horizon and the Caldari fleet. The ship's systems flickered momentarily, then stabilized. The Caldari weren't so fortunate. Their vessels drifted, power failing across their fleet. What just happened? Hayes demanded. Maya was already analyzing the data. The station. It protected us. That pulse was targeted. It only affected the Caldari ships. As they watched, something else began to happen. The station's structure was shifting, panels realigning, hidden compartments opening to reveal dormant systems coming to life. "Commander," Maya said, her voice filled with wonder and fear, "I don't think this is just a defensive outpost. I think it's a weapon. And we just turned it on." The Caldari ships began to recover, their systems rebooting. But it was clear they were now wary, keeping their distance from both the horizon and the awakening station. Hayes stared at the ancient structure, now pulsing with energies that defied their sensors' ability to measure. Whatever secrets it held about humanity's forgotten past were now inextricably linked to their present, and possibly their future. "All hands," he announced, his voice firm with resolve. "Prepare for whatever comes next. We may have just changed the course of human history." Outside, in the swirling chaos of the Nixian void, the storm was just beginning. Legacy of fire. The bridge of the ESV horizon was silent save for the soft peeps of the monitoring systems. Commander Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the ancient station, now identified as the Tempest, continued its awakening sequence. Around him, his crew worked frantically to understand what they had unleashed. "The Caldari ships are regrouping," Lieutenant Commander Chen reported, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They're maintaining distance but taking up strategic positions." Hayes nodded grimly. The Caldari were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors and collectors of ancient technology. If they wanted the Tempest, it wasn't for benevolent reasons. "Commander," Maya called from her station, where she was analyzing the data they'd retrieved from the station. "I've managed to decrypt more of the Primarch archives. You need to see this." Hayes joined her at the science console, where she brought up a series of holographic images, star charts, technical schematics, and what appeared to be historical records. According to this, the Primarchs weren't just an advanced human civilization. Maya explained, her voice hushed with awe. They were the dominant species in this quadrant of the galaxy. They had colonies across hundreds of star systems, technology far beyond what we have now, and they were respected and feared by other spacefaring races, including the Caldari. Hayes asked. Maya nodded. "Especially the Caldari. It seems there was a war, a massive conflict that spanned centuries. The Primarchs built the Tempest as their ultimate weapon against the Caldari threat. And now we've activated it," Hayes murmured, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "Not fully," Maya corrected. "What we've witnessed is just the initial startup sequence. The Tempest's primary systems are still locked behind security protocols that require specific authentication." "What kind of authentication?" Maya hesitated. "It needs a Primarch commander, someone with the genetic markers of their leadership caste." Before Hayes could respond, the ship's communications officer interrupted. "Sir, the Caldari are hailing us again." Hayes returned to the command chair. On screen, the face of the Caldari commander appeared once more, its scaled features now set in a mask of cold fury. "Human, you play with forces beyond your understanding. That station belongs to us by right of conquest. The Primarchs were defeated millennia ago. And yet their technology recognizes humans, not Caldari," Hayes replied evenly. "Perhaps there's more to this story than you're telling us." The Caldari's eyes narrowed. "You have 1 hour to withdraw. After that, we will take the Tempest by force, and your ship will be destroyed." The transmission ended abruptly. Hayes turned to Chen. "Options. We can't outrun them." "Sir," Chen replied. "Not in the void. And though the horizon is well armed, we're outgunned against their fleet." "What about the Tempest?" Hayes asked. "If we could fully activate it." Maya shook her head. "I'm not sure we can. The genetic authentication requires a direct neural interface with someone carrying the Primarch leadership markers. We'd need to find—" "Sir," interrupted Dr. Eliza Kwan, the ship's chief medical officer, "I may have something relevant." She approached with a datapad displaying genetic analyses. After Dr. Villanova's discovery, I ran comparative genomic scans on our crew against the Primarch data we retrieved. Most humans share about 99.9% of their DNA with the Primarchs, which is expected if they're our ancestors. But a few individuals show additional markers, genetic sequences that match the Primarch leadership caste. Hayes felt a chill run down his spine. Who? Dr. Kwan looked at him directly. You, Commander. Your genetic profile contains several key Primarch leadership markers. It's not a complete match, but it's closer than anyone else on board. The revelation stunned Hayes into momentary silence. His mind raced with implications. Was it mere coincidence, or had some fragment of Primarch heritage been preserved in his bloodline across the millennia? Could it be enough to activate the Tempest systems? He finally asked. Possibly, Maya answered, but the interface would be intense. The Primarchs used direct neural connections to control their most advanced technology. It would mean linking your mind directly to the station's eye. The risks, began Dr. Kwan, are less than the certainty of a Keldari attack. Hayes finished for her. He stood, decision made. Prepare a shuttle. I'm going back to the Tempest. Despite protests from his officers, Hayes assembled a small team. Maya, Chen, and 2 security specialists. Within minutes, they were aboard a shuttle heading back to the ancient station. As they docked once more with the Tempest, Hayes could feel the difference. The station hummed with energy, its corridors now illuminated with a soft blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. The command center should be this way, Maya said, leading them through the labyrinthine structure. The station's internal systems recognize us now. It's guiding us. Indeed, lights along the walls brightened as they passed, creating a path that led them deeper into the Tempest. They arrived at a chamber they hadn't explored before, a spherical room at what appeared to be the heart of the station. At its center floated a chair-like apparatus, suspended in an energy field and connected to the ceiling and floor by glowing conduits. Around it, holographic displays showed tactical information, star charts, and rapidly scrolling Primarch text. This is it, Maya whispered. The command nexus. Hayes approached the floating chair, feeling a strange resonance as he drew near. The apparatus seemed to respond to his presence, the energy field shifting subtly. The neural interface will activate once you're seated, Maya explained, consulting her datapad. According to the archives, it will scan your mind, verify your genetic credentials, and, if you're accepted, give you control of the Tempest's systems. And if I'm rejected? Hayes asked quietly. Maya's expression was grim. The archives don't specify, but I doubt it would be pleasant. Hayes took a deep breath. We're out of time. The Keldari will attack soon, and we need to be ready. He turned to Chen. If something goes wrong, get everyone back to the horizon and withdraw as best you can. Chen nodded, though Hayes could see he didn't like the order. Understood, sir. With one final moment of hesitation, Hayes stepped into the energy field. Immediately, he felt weightless as the chair-like apparatus adjusted to receive him. As he settled into it, filaments of light extended from the structure, wrapping around his temples and the base of his skull. Pain lanced through his head, sharp and immediate, and then gave way to something else. Information flooded his consciousness, images and knowledge pouring in faster than he could process. He saw star systems, battles, civilizations rising and falling. He saw the Primarchs in their glory, humans who had stretched their dominion across the stars. And he saw their fall, a devastating war with the Keldari and their allies that had fractured the Primarch Empire. He witnessed the desperate plan to preserve their legacy, sending ships with colonists to distant, primitive worlds, including a blue planet they called Terra, Earth. The realization struck him with physical force. The Primarchs hadn't just been humanity's ancestors. They had deliberately seeded Earth with survivors, hiding them away until the day they might reclaim their heritage. Commander, Maya's voice seemed distant, pulled through layers of memory and time. The Caldari are moving in. Their hour is up. Hayes forced his consciousness back to the present, feeling the Tempest systems now open to his command. Through the station's sensors, he could see the Caldari fleet advancing, weapons charge. "They're targeting the horizon," Chen reported urgently. With a thought, Hayes activated the Tempest's defensive shields, not just around the station, but extending outward to envelope the horizon as well. The Caldari's first volley of energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the barrier. "Incredible," breathed Maya, watching as the shields absorbed the attack without strain. "The power requirements for this kind of defense would be..." "The station is powered by a contained singularity," Hayes heard himself say, knowledge flowing from the Tempest's archives directly into his mind. "It can maintain these shields indefinitely." The Caldari, realizing their weapons were ineffective, changed tactics. Several smaller craft detached from their main vessels, accelerating toward the Tempest. "Boarding parties," Chen warned. Hayes focused his thoughts, accessing the station's defensive systems. Turrets emerged from hidden compartments along the Tempest's hull, tracking the approaching Caldari ships. With precision that belied their age, they fired, not energy beams, but concentrated gravitational distortions that twisted the very fabric of space around the Caldari craft. The effect was devastating. The smaller ships were crushed, their hulls imploding under forces they weren't designed to withstand. The remaining Caldari vessels pulled back hastily. "They're regrouping," Chen reported, a note of amazement in his voice. Hayes could feel the Tempest's full capabilities now unfolding in his mind. Weapon systems that could tear apart fleets, engines that could move the massive station between stars in moments, and communication arrays that could reach across the galaxy. But most importantly, he understood the Tempest's true purpose. It wasn't just a weapon or a fortress, it was a seed. A repository of Primarch knowledge and technology, designed to help humanity reclaim its place among the stars when they finally found their way back. The Caldari commander's face appeared on a holographic projection. "This is not over, human," it snarled. "You may have awakened the Tempest, but you cannot hope to control it. Its power will consume you, as it did the Primarchs." Hayes met the alien's gaze steadily. "You've feared this day for millennia," he replied, knowledge from the archives guiding his words. "The day humans would return to the stars and reclaim what was taken from them. The Tempest remembers the Caldari betrayal, and so will we." Fury contorted the Caldari's features. "The humans of today are not the Primarchs. You are weak, divided, primitive. You will destroy yourselves with this power." "Perhaps," Hayes acknowledged. "But that choice belongs to us now." With that, he severed the communication. Through the neural link, he could feel the Caldari ships powering their drives, preparing to attack once more. "Commander," Maya said urgently, "there's something else in the archives. A weapon system called the Maelstrom. It could end this now." Hayes accessed the information about the Maelstrom and immediately understood why the Primarchs had used it only as a last resort. It was a weapon that targeted the unique energy signatures of Caldari technology, rendering it inert across an entire star system. "It won't harm them physically," Hayes said, "but it will disable their ships completely. They'll be stranded here." "The Caldari don't surrender," Chen warned. "They'd rather die than be captured." Hayes weighed the decision. The Maelstrom would effectively neutralize the threat without bloodshed, but it would leave the Caldari helpless, a fate they might consider worse than death. But there was another option in the Tempest's arsenal. "There's a third choice," Hayes said, "something the archives call the memory imprint. It was designed to show enemies the truth about Primarch history, to break through propaganda and deception." Maya looked skeptical. "You think showing them some historical records will change their minds?" "Not records," Hayes corrected. "Experience. The memory imprint transmits direct sensory data, allowing others to experience memories as if they lived them. It would show the Caldari the truth about their ancestors' betrayal of the Primarchs, and the lies their civilization has been built upon. Before anyone could object, Hayes activated the memory imprint. The Tempest hummed as energy gathered around its communication array, then pulsed outward in a wave that washed over the Keldari fleet. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the Keldari ships began to power down their weapons. Communications channels flooded with confused and angry Keldari transmissions as crew members confronted the sudden, forced revelation of their species' hidden history. It worked, Maya whispered in amazement. The main Keldari vessel remained at battle readiness longer than the others, its commander clearly resisting the memory imprint. But eventually, it too lowered its shields. "They're retreating," Chen announced as the Keldari fleet began to withdraw, their movements disorganized and hesitant. Hayes felt a surge of triumph, followed immediately by exhaustion as the neural interface's demands took their toll. The knowledge of the Primarchs, their rise, their war with the Keldari, their fall, and their desperate plan to preserve humanity by hiding it on Earth, swirled in his mind. "Help me out of here," he managed to say as the filaments of light retracted from his head. Maya and Chen rushed forward, supporting him as he stumbled from the command chair. His legs felt weak, and his head pounded with the aftereffects of the neural connection. "Did you see it all?" Maya asked, her scientific curiosity overtaking her concern. "The Primarch civilization. Their technology." Hayes nodded slowly. "Everything. Their entire history. They were magnificent and terrifying. They had power we can barely comprehend." He looked around at the Tempest, a mere outpost of what had once been a vast interstellar empire. "And now it's ours again. What do we do with it?" Chen asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. Hayes didn't answer immediately. The Tempest represented power beyond anything humanity currently possessed, weapons that could conquer worlds, technology that could transform their civilization overnight. It was a responsibility that frightened him. "We learn from their mistakes," he finally said. "The Primarchs fell because they became arrogant, believing their technological superiority made them invulnerable. They made enemies they couldn't defeat. He managed to stand on his own, his strength returning. We take this knowledge back to Earth. Slowly, carefully, we study it, understand it, and use it to protect humanity, not to dominate others." Maya looked unconvinced. "Do you think Earth's governments will be that responsible with this kind of power?" "They won't have a choice," Hayes replied. "The Tempest has chosen its guardians. It won't respond to anyone who tries to use it for conquest or oppression." He touched the console nearest to him, and it illuminated beneath his fingers. Through the residual connection of the neural interface, he could still sense the station's consciousness, ancient, patient, and now awake after millennia of dormancy. "The Primarchs made contingencies," he explained. "They knew that if humanity ever found its way back to the stars, they would need guidance to avoid repeating past mistakes. The Tempest isn't just a weapon or a repository of technology, it's a teacher." As if in response to his words, new holographic displays appeared around them, showing Earth and its solar system. The Tempest was already analyzing humanity's current level of development, comparing it to the Primarch timeline. "It wants to help us," Maya realized, watching the displays with wonder. "To guide our development." "Yes," Hayes agreed. "But on our terms. We're not the Primarchs, despite sharing their DNA. We've evolved our own culture, our own values. We need to take what's useful from their legacy without being consumed by it." He turned to his team, his expression resolute. "Let's get back to the horizon. We have a lot to report, and a lot to decide." As they prepared to leave the command chamber, Hayes paused for one final look at the ancient technology that had recognized him as kin. The Tempest had awakened, and with it, humanity's forgotten legacy. What they did with that legacy would determine whether they rose to new heights or followed the Primarchs into oblivion. The journey back to the horizon was silent, each member of the away team lost in thought about the implications of their discovery. As their shuttle docked with the exploratory vessel, Hayes could see his crew watching through the viewports, faces filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. They had come seeking knowledge and found the birthright of humanity, power, technology, and a place in the galaxy that they had never imagined. The Keldari fleet had withdrawn completely, their certainty shattered by truths they couldn't deny. "Send a message to Earth Command," Hayes instructed as he stepped onto the bridge. "Priority Alpha. Tell them we've discovered humanity's legacy. And it changes everything." As the Horizon prepared to depart the Nixian void, Hayes took one last look at the Tempest through the viewscreen. The ancient station glowed with renewed purpose, its systems fully awakened and ready to serve humanity once more. The storm had been unleashed, not a storm of destruction, but of revelation. Humanity wasn't just a young species taking its first steps into the cosmos. They were inheritors of a galactic legacy, returning to reclaim their place among the stars after a long exile. And the galaxy would never be the same.